What we're going to do now, you guys, is we are going to be bringing on the man himself, Rich Dubs. We are going to be giving him a chance to tell his side of the events. So, one second. What's going on, Richie?
Hey, Richie.
Yo.
So, we're going to go ahead and give you the floor. So this is the first thing I want to do. First and foremost, first question out the gate: are you sober right now? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm actually not a drinker at all. So
okay, I just want to ask because I don't ever want it down the road for just CYA on us for if you were to turn around and be like, I was drinking or anything, and then on top of it too, you people will come up with a million theories. So as of right now, you're saying you're sober. Secondly,
absolutely.
I want to give you the platform to turn around and tell us from beginning to end your story of events for New Year's. We're not going to question you on it. We're just going to give you your ability to say it. And I want to give you the ability to give your full account for the day that the police showed up. So whenever you're ready, feel free to talk about New Year's.
All right. So sure. New Year's was really uneventful. She didn't have to work that day. We took advantage of the opportunity to kind of just like mellow out. We probably did some edibles. I think we watched some YouTube videos. She spent a lot of time checking like Reddit and comments on her videos and stuff. She's very engaged with her community. Really nothing of note happened. That's the truth. We didn't watch the ball drop. We didn't get hammered. We didn't party. Nobody came over. We didn't go anywhere. It was literally kind of just a nice chill night after the grind for so long with Queens.
Okay.
I really have no more to say about that night. There's really nothing notable.
Is there anything that, and I don't want to offer any outs or anything, but obviously like me and Zeph have had our own discussion as to what we think potentially happened. Is there any potential way that maybe she had a real bad trip? Like on something?
No. Well, first of all, she never presented as so fucked up on anything that's like something I would consider. Also, she's like a seasoned edibles user. She used edibles long before I knew her. I didn't coerce her into using them or anything. She's not new at it. There's no basis in reality. There's nothing that I can like latch to and see that she stretched this into this lie or anything. There's nothing. It's like a literally whole cloth fabricated story.
Okay. When would you? I know I said I wasn't going to ask you a bunch of questions. I'm not going to grill down on your story, but like,
it's okay.
When did you guys end up going to bed that night on New Year's? Best to your recollection.
It's hard to say. Most nights we went to bed somewhere between 4 and 6 a.m.
That makes sense because that like rewind typically ends around midnight and then a couple extra hours to mellow out. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, she spent a lot of time checking like Reddit and checking the comment sections and the server and we watched My Name Is Earl. We watched the first 3 seasons of that together. We watched Raising Hope.
It's a good show.
Those were the shows that I love that she'd never seen. So like, and we had like other things that we would watch together too. Like we would kind of keep an eye on Girl World and we would keep an eye on different content and stuff. So I don't remember. It wasn't notable. I didn't really like pay attention to what specifically we watched or whatever.
Right.
If I extrapolated any further than that, I would be being dishonest. I don't want to be dishonest by any.
And I will say, like, because every time you've retold this story is always been you don't know where it's coming from because you can't think of anything that would even remotely resemble that or be parallel to it. And it's typically in these situations, it's usually the opposite of I can't remember. We were so fucked up, like we did so many things. But here it's like we kind of just watched TV and then went to bed and like I like you genuinely again I'm not no sweeping no nothing, but it's what makes your story a lot easier to at least not, I don't want to say believe, but follow. Because you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you don't sound, at least for me, I haven't heard you try to, I don't want to say over explain, but what's the word? Play up like what happened, right? Because she turns around and goes, oh, he wouldn't leave. And yours is, well, I didn't want to drive drunk. And it's completely understandable. It's completely reasonable. But continue. Go ahead.
Okay, so again,
actually, I do actually have a quick question. I wanted to ask this after the so fucked up question. Has there ever been, not just this night in question, but has there ever been in any point in your relationship whether it be intoxicated or inebriated or not, has she ever presented herself as somebody who's slightly uncomfortable with with anything that's happening, let alone anything that was sexual in nature?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Okay. I guess, and
Um,
then a follow up real quick, and then we'll totally. Has she ever at all, even jokingly, talked about rescinding consent before?
no,
Okay, that's my last one.
that's not a joke that I would have taken lightly. I would have definitely
Right,
Yeah,
which
that's a
I
joke.
mean,
noticed
as
that.
right, no, as guys, we kind of that's the like probably the biggest red flag. So that's why I was saying is that like, kind of
Not a
because
funny
you
joke.
right,
Not a funny
because like, but you, I know you're familiar of the sunken, what's it called, the freaking
Sunken cost fallacy.
yeah, you're so far deep in you at that point. Then when the joke
It's
hits
funny.
you,
It's funny because I would sum up my relationship as a sunken cost fallacy. It was
mm,
just like one I swallowed one red flag and one like warning sign after another, and before I knew it, it's like, well, am I gonna leave for this? I already accepted XYZ and ABCDE, and so like it's funny that you should bring up the sunken cost fallacy because I actually articulated that today for the first time, that like that summarizes the entirety of the relationship.
mm,
But I digress. Okay, so again, New Year's, there's really nothing else of note.
mhm.
Um,
Did you guys
Nothing.
sleep together that night? Were you guys intimate?
I honestly can't answer that truthfully. I
Okay,
don't know if we had sex the night before New Year's Eve, the night after New Year's Eve, or New Year's Eve. It was in there somewhere.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna answer if I can't 100% say
No,
for sure.
and I respect that. I respect that. Go ahead.
I get that.
So okay, so then New Year's Eve is over, New Year's Day is over. The next day she goes back to streaming. On January 3rd, I left her home. I came back the 80 miles to my house. I had to see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my cat here. My mom kept sending me videos. My cat cries when I'm home or when I'm not home. So I wanted to come home and see my kitty. I talked to Becky. We decided that my cat could go there because I was going to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after the 3rd, when I left, I planned on going back. We were going to get her house cleaned. I was working on the dockets with her. I was going to bring my PC because I was doing the dockets for her and for Lol Cow. So shortly after I left on the 3rd, I got my medicine. We discussed when I would return. I can't say for sure if I returned on the 4th or the 5th. I'm sure I could look through my text messages and ascertain exactly when that happened, or my call history or something. But I'm not going to say for sure one way or another because I just don't know right now to say 100%. However, on either the 4th or the 5th, I returned to her home with my PC, with my cat, my clothes for 2 weeks. 2 weeks was the longest I could stay at this time.
And was that because of the like 2 weeks of vacation, or was that all you could give up 2 weeks of your time?
That was when I had to be back in Poughkeepsie again in 2 more weeks where I live.
Okay.
It's like 80 miles from where she lives. I wouldn't have doxed my city.
Right.
It is what it is. So 80 miles. And so like I wasn't going to try to drive it. Like if I had to be here I'm not going to try to like go back and forth all the time. So, I didn't have to I had nothing pressing to be here for 2 weeks.
Makes sense.
I go back on, like I said, either the 4th or the 5th. Everything is fine. I bring my PC in. I set it up. I do the dockets for a couple days. Everything is pretty good. I was genuinely pretty happy with everything. There was like a lot, like the house being the way that it was and everything. It was kind of a lot to deal with. It's a lot there.
Overwhelming.
Right.
Overwhelming.
But like the plan was to remedy it, to fix it, to clean it up, do whatever I could to be helpful, get her, a little bit more stable.
Help her along with what she's dealing with.
Right.
I get it.
And the part of me felt really bad. Like I know that she has like, these health issues and stuff. And like it could be so much easier for her to have to get up and go to the kitchen than it is now.
Right.
Like part of this was like, I was uncomfortable living in conditions like that. Part of this was I was uncomfortable seeing somebody that I genuinely cared about and loved living in conditions like that.
That's fair.
Like I said, I went back there. The primary goal was to get the house clean. The secondary goal was to work on the dockets, which I could have done from home, but like I had to be there to do the house cleaning. So I went back, I set up the PC, yada, 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 brought the cat. On the 6th is when the court stream was and the Queen stream with the Wendy's incident.
Right.
Before she streamed that night, she said, I'm going to be streaming from 10 to 12. It's unfortunate Wendy's is going to be closed because I really would have liked to get some Wendy's. That would have been like the 4th time I brought home Wendy's, which I don't even eat fast food, but because of the conditions of the house,
Right.
Cooking wasn't really an option yet.
Right.
Right. No, we saw.
And where she lives, there's not a lot of other options late night. So Wendy's it was. I made a concession. I ate Wendy's a few times.
That's right, because you were, if I remember correctly, not to cut you off or anything, but on the camping trip, or you were like a little
Carnivore.
upset, yeah, or your carnivore diet. I thought you were on like a. That's right, right. You were like on a certain diet or something like that.
Yeah. I intermittent fast all day, and I only would eat a steak at night.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm still on the diet loosely or whatever. I will knuckle back down eventually here, but so yeah, like I said, I made some concessions. I ate some fast food or whatever. So I brought her. So okay, so she was supposed to be getting done at midnight that night, and she was kind of like lamenting the fact that Wendy's would be closed when she got done. We couldn't go get Wendy's.
Right.
So I decided that I would leave at 11:30, go get the Wendy's, and then when she was done streaming, I would have it.
Right.
Okay, but then the court stream ended early. So instead of her being done at midnight, she was looking like she was going to be getting done at 11. I was assuming a same 2-hour stream window. So I left her house at 10:30. I had been drinking a little bit before I went to Wendy's. I've seen people question why was I able to drink and drive to go to Wendy's but not to go home. But the thing is that I knew I was going to be going. So I stopped drinking. I drank lightly. I had a couple drinks. And actually I had already started drinking before I decided I was going to do the Wendy's thing. So I'd stopped drinking with like 2 hours window to go to Wendy's or whatever.
Well, it's also a huge difference between like a 30-minute round trip and a multiple hour long trip.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying any level of drunk driving is okay, but like
no.
It's very different from I had a shot and I'm going down the road versus I had a shot and I'm driving for 6 hours. You know, like
yeah. I had a shot. I gave ample time, and then right because I've never had a DUI. I don't drink and drive. I'm not irresponsible in those ways.
See, all of this is kind of like a moot point at the end of the day, because even after the evening had progressed and even after you'd gotten the food and given to the food and had this whole incident, you were either continually drinking or you'd stopped. By the time the police had got there, you still blew under the legal limit. So you were still okay to drive.
Regardless, he was responsible all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I now changed the plan from going to Wendy's for 12 o'clock to going for 11 o'clock instead. 10:30 rolls around. I am certain that I am sober enough to drive. I go to Wendy's. I return home. I walk in the front door with the bag of Wendy's in hand. I don't hear her screaming. When Becky streams, you guys all know what it sounds like when Becky streams.
Right.
I can hear her from every room in the house. So I walk in. I don't hear her screaming. You know, I have the Wendy's. I set it on the couch. I go to the kitchen. I make myself a White Russian. I go back to the living room. I grab the Wendy's. And I go to her bedroom. I never hear her scream, not one time throughout the making of the drink, the retrieving of the food, and the going to the bedroom. But when I walk into her bedroom, I push the door open, and I can see the monitor. And on the monitor, I can see Tina and Kid behind a camera. So at this point, I now know I've walked into the stream, which she told me was okay or whatever. You know, I kept myself away from it more than she kept me away from it, just out of like respect. You know, I know Keith's sticking around in the background, and I know she doesn't want to be distracted, and whatever. I don't need to be in there right at that time.
Right.
So I said, so she's still streaming. Let me just set the bag on the bed. I'll take my burger and my fries really quick, and I'll go back to sit at my computer and I'll eat and wait for her to finish. I don't know how long she's gonna go or whatever, but I'll just go eat my food while it's hot. You know, I didn't want to take the food away though. Maybe she could like sneak a couple bites while she's streaming or something. Right. You know, give her the opportunity to at least get some of the food down while it's still hot.
I mean, and then you're also there. You might as well, like, you know, you already entered the room. Might as well just leave it rather than like leave with it. You know, I mean,
yeah. So I tried to retrieve I got a Dave's double. I got her a single and a large fry each. I grabbed my fries and my burger, and as I was trying to get them out of the bag, she like turned to me. I don't remember exactly what she said. It wasn't the end of the world or anything. I just thought that she maybe talked to me a little bit nastier than I would have been comfortable having the live stream here.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so I didn't know it at the time, but apparently she had muted when she did that. But I mean, if muting was like such a viable option, why couldn't she just mute while I took the burger out of the bag, you know? So anyway, so I get my food out of the bag. She kind of turns to me. She says something I feel like is a little nastier than I would have been comfortable having people hear her talk to me. So I thought that it would be best to try to like get in front of it. And I keep using that phrase, and I can't really explain this better than that. Ultimately, I thought I could maybe joke about it a little bit, make light about it a little bit,
Oh, it sounds like you
and
didn't
just
want
kind of.
her looking bad.
I didn't want her looking bad. I didn't want me looking like a bitch who just
Yeah.
lets his girl talk to him anyway or
Mhm.
whatever. And I didn't want us to look like a toxic couple either. So it was
Right.
really for me, for her, and for us all. I thought,
Right.
and I'm not saying this was the best. This is just what I came to. I had a couple drinks. I'm not perfect or whatever,
Mm.
you know. This is just what I thought was going to be like the best way to handle this. So like
Well,
you know,
it was also kind of one of those things where like, well, they already saw it. I might as well give them an explanation. Like,
right. And again, I didn't know she had muted at this time. I thought everybody
Right.
heard the interaction. So ultimately, I sent the thing in the server about, oh, I guess I brought her hot fresh dinner too loud or whatever. Fuck me. And it didn't need to be all that at all. I didn't feel like it was all that. I feel like I nipped it off at the butt or whatever with like the public face of it. And like it should have been fine. It could have been fine. It would have been fine. So she eventually finishes her stream. I had finished my food. I was sitting there. I think I was playing like a match of Call of Duty or whatever. She came in the computer room and she was like, "You need to get off that game right now and talk to me." So I was like, "Okay, no problem." You know, I got off the game. I was like, you know, I didn't really appreciate the way he talked to me, and she like kind of really got escalated pretty fast. And so now I'm in a position where I've had a couple drinks. Um, I have somebody who is not interested in smooth communications, and I know that at this point. And I know that there's nothing that's going to be better for this than just waiting till the morning to even address it. This is where my mind goes immediately after she came in and started arguing with me.
Sleep on it. Let's just sleep on this.
Right. So I don't remember exactly what the catalyst was, but at some point the arguing in that room had ended. She went back to her bedroom. I was sitting there for a few minutes, kind of like thinking about what my next few hours were going to look like. And I decided I had a blanket in her room. I was going to go get the blanket and I was going to hang out in the computer room.
Now, at that point,
Potentially till
like you said, you were sitting there mulling over like what you were going to do. At that point, had she told you that she wanted you to leave?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that came until the next piece I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
So I went and got the blanket. I was going to hang out in the computer room. I wasn't going to press anything. I wasn't going to talk to her. I wasn't going to make her argue with me. I had no interest in any of that. Honestly, the best thing I thought would be to just address this in the morning. She'll have cooled down a little bit. I'll have sobered up a little bit, and cooler heads will prevail, and we can have an adult discussion about, you know, everything that needs to be addressed right now. So I went and got my blanket. I came back in the other room. I didn't say anything to her. I just walked into her bedroom. I took the blanket. I went back. You know, I closed her door. I closed the door to the room I was in. Shortly thereafter, she came back to the computer room. To the room where my computer was. It's not the computer room. When I say computer room, I'm afraid you guys are going to think that's where she streams from. That's her bedroom. I'm talking about a spare bedroom.
It's the one that was in the beginning, right, of the video?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So, and actually, in that video, if you see that brown velour blanket, is the blanket I'm talking about. It's the first thing you see when that camera turns on. Yep. So, she comes back into the room an additional time, a second time, after I retrieve the blanket. We argue some more. She essentially puts me to a decision that I need to either apologize or leave, or she's calling the cops. I explained to her that it's after midnight. I've been saying 2 a.m. That's probably just me speaking imprecisely. Whatever time it was probably definitely after midnight at this point, or like close to midnight, whatever it was. But it's like 10 degrees out. She's 80 miles from me. She's 20 miles from civilization or whatever. Like she's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I have my cat. I have my computer. I have my truck. I have my clothes. Do I really need to drive or to take a cab 80 miles home so I can come back 80 miles in a cab again tomorrow? Right. So like when she asked me to leave, this might be honestly my biggest mistake. I didn't feel like it was a reasonable request. And maybe it didn't need to be a reasonable request, and maybe had I not been drinking at all, I wouldn't have. But like, it didn't seem unreasonable for me to. There was no pressing reason. We weren't violent. We weren't screaming at one another. There was no threats of any kind made on either part. There was no. There was no physical tension. There was, in my mind, there was no justification why I needed to vacate in the middle of the night with my cat
Were you
after having
guys
drank
were
in
you
10-degree
guys
weather.
right? Were you guys screaming back and forth, or was this more of a
I never
mild mannered
screamed.
discussion?
I never screamed not one time
Okay.
at Becky the entire time that we dated. She, however, loses her shit pretty quick.
Okay.
You know, that's just the truth of it. Unfortunately, especially if you talk over her, she really loses it quick.
Okay, so if it's in this argument between the two of you, you're stating you kept your calm and she was yelling at
Yes.
times.
I might have been more elevated than calm, than the level of calm, but at no point was I where you would call excited or yelling or screaming
agitated.
or right. Maybe not even agitated.
Okay.
Maybe just like one or two
Hostile.
notches above calm, you know.
Okay.
Right.
And only at certain points. I really did try to maintain the calmest level here because I understand that she's mad. It's not really a rational thing to be this mad about to begin with. So feeding into it is only going to exacerbate it exponentially, right?
Right, of course.
So I essentially tried to mitigate as much of the tension as possible, kind of be like, I'm sorry, you know, appeasing and non-confrontational. Ultimately, I got to a point where once she was making serious threats to call the cops, I knew that this was now a situation that I needed to get myself out of safely and as soon as possible. Instead of, at this point, I shifted in my mind from, instead of wanting to stay till the morning to try to talk it out, I wanted an hour or two to just make sure that I was under the legal limit and safe to drive. So this is the second time she comes in the room or whatever. Eventually, at the end of that interaction where she came into that room the second time, the ultimatum was essentially apologize, leave, or I'm calling the police. I told her I don't really feel like I have anything that I need to apologize for. I'm not comfortable leaving at this time. I don't have a means to get home. I don't have a means to get back for my belongings. I don't have any clear reason why that this is, aside from just
it doesn't make sense.
It just
Right.
besides that you're raging and asking me to leave, there's no
Right.
other catalyst that it doesn't seem like. And again, this is probably my worst action in all of this. It didn't seem like a reasonable thing to kick me out in the middle of the night.
Crinkling
in
of
10-degree
a
weather.
Wendy's bag did not seem like a justification to end up cause the realization or the need to leave.
I mean,
Right.
that is true on a
It is-
most
I-
moral.
I really need to say this. I'm not taking away that it's her house and she has complete
Right.
say over who's there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you invite somebody into your home overnight, I feel like you, in some respects, take a little bit of responsibility that they're going to make it through the night without fucking freezing to death.
Well, and then not only that, there's so many different factors to be taken into account. The fact that you've been drinking, the fact that this is all being done in spite of you, like it's literally being done spitefully, and
Yes.
the distance and everything, like all of these things it's one thing if you're, hey, I live here and you live a city over. It's another thing when it's multiple miles. And with not only that, but with the degrees that it was, you said, like, was it 10 degrees out?
It was probably 10 degrees. It's January. She lives in the mountains.
So
bro.
not
Like, it was
only
really
that,
cold.
you could have been driving downhill on ice. Like, you know what I'm saying? And we appreciate the Vulgar Unicorn for the 5 gifted memberships.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you. Thank you very
Big ups,
much.
Vulgar Unicorn.
We definitely do our best to recognize when you guys donate. We're just trying to give Richie all the I'm gonna just lower that down. All right, continue, sir.
So essentially, like I said, at the end of that second interaction, she gave me the ultimatum. I told her I didn't really feel like I had anything that I really needed to apologize for. I wasn't, especially in that time. had it like we done the waiting till morning thing, I probably could have mustered like, listen, I'm really sorry. I could have handled this better. I could have done this. I could have checked to make sure you muted before I reacted, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
However, after a couple drinks, that's not really where I was. And I didn't really feel like I could sell a fake apology. I didn't really feel like I had anything to apologize over. So I couldn't really muster a real one at that time.
Right. I mean,
That's
it's
just the
always
truth.
yeah, it's always easier being a Monday morning quarterback. Like it's
Yeah.
always easier. So
So she left that room again. I don't believe she called the cops quite yet at this time. I believe there was a third interaction where she came back to that room a third time, which is when like the arguing got like the most heated. And again, I will maintain that I never yelled once.
mhm.
I stayed honestly calm or 1 degree above calm the entire time. Um, However, it got more heated at that time,
Mhm.
and she did end up calling 911, which the report indicated. I didn't know if she had dialed the sheriff's number or 911. She actually called the emergency number,
Right.
and um, went back into her bedroom. So now I am aware the police are on their way to ask me to leave. I am aware I've done absolutely nothing wrong. I am aware that they will give me a breathalyzer, and that will give me all the information I need, whether or not I can legally just go right now and be done with it.
That is true.
I
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had also mentioned to her before she had called the cops, because I remember I started to tell this, but I don't know what happened exactly. But I had switched my mindset from we'll talk about this in the morning to I need to just be sober enough to get home, to drive home and get the hell out of here.
Mhm.
At that point, I knew that I was done with Becky. Women who weaponize the police, that is not a red flag that I can easily overlook. I've been in
Right.
those kinds of positions before. I've seen other people in my life who were in those kinds of positions before. And weaponizing police is just one thing that I can't overlook. It's too dangerous. It's too easy to get set up by this person in the future for a similar event. And there's
Mhm.
no way that she's only going to do it this one time and never going to do it again.
If it's
Who
gonna
says that
happen,
you're
if
the
it's gonna
first
happen
victim,
this time,
anyways? Like,
yeah. If it's gonna happen this time over a Wendy's bag, what's to say that something smaller or
and
something different causes it to happen later?
and we
Right.
are
So now,
speaking about this in the sense that if her is false, we're not saying we know indefinitely that it is, but if it is, obviously, Richie, we have to take that position. If it
oh
is,
yeah, of course.
who's to say she hasn't done this to Richie or somebody previously? And if she has done it and is doing it to Richie, she could do it again. I
Well,
mean,
I'm not even talking about making an accusation of this caliber. I'm
right,
just talking
right.
about getting the police there
Anything.
to ask me to leave in the middle of the night.
Right, right.
Right.
You
This is
use a
all I
like,
have. I don't have any
mhm.
information of anything beyond that at this point.
Right, exactly. Like weaponizing
Right.
the police is such a dangerous tactic.
Right. So I sit in the computer room. I understand that it's going to take the cops 20 minutes to get there,
Hmm.
based on where we are, based on the time of day it is, based on the type of call it is, yada, yada, yada. So I stayed in the computer room for about 15 minutes. I intended to go out into the living room when I thought they would be pretty close to being there, and I would greet them at the door.
Hmm.
Also, this is worth noting. After she called, she did tell me one more time, if you just go right now, I'll call them back and tell them that they don't need to come.
But that's not how it works. This
Well,
isn't
no,
you can't put the lid back. I get what you're saying, and
yeah,
that's damning. That's very damning. But it also goes to show that if that was her mindset, it really is like, oh, I can call the dog off. I can call if you leave, I'll call the dog back. I'll put the dog outside. Like,
yeah.
it's
And
exactly how it
it's
sounds.
funny because she's also told me that, or she said it in the server, that she would put the SA allegation dog back if I would just stop talking about her. I have those
Yes,
Hmm.
screenshots.
yes, I do remember
Hmm.
seeing that. That was
Yes, I
on
have those
our.
screenshots. So
Yeah.
that's another dog she's gonna put back,
Mhm.
apparently, if I just don't talk about her. So essentially I waited the 15 minutes. I was about to go out to the living room to go meet the cops at the door, or to go wait for the cops to meet them at the door. And I decided that, you know what, I better have my phone real handy in the event that she should, number one, assault me, number two, try to say that I assaulted her, or number three, continue to escalate this in a way where there's going to be any kind of a risk to either of us.
Mhm.
So that's when the video came about. Is in my waiting in my end time of waiting for the sheriff's window to get really close to where I thought they would be, like almost here. And again, I'm not proud of it, but ultimately, I think on the house video, I'm somewhat vindicated. Obviously, I had seen something in this person that they're willing to make these kinds of allegations, and they're willing to say these kinds of things publicly, despite them having no basis in reality. So I, even though it was an ugly thing that I did, and I'm not proud of it, and I don't know that I would do the same thing again in the same situation, I do feel kind of like that stupid decision that I made after a couple drinks is kind of been vindicated by her actions after the fact. I really did I needed something more powerful than that in order to have actual success with it. But I did understand that attacks were coming and that I should have some kind of defense mechanism in place, some kind of way to deter these attacks or to counteract them.
The thing is that I get what you're saying. You're wanting ammo and to respond. And I mean, it does build the narrative. Like, listen, I was dealing with this, dealing with the house being a mess. Like, and it does counteract the things that she made, right? She brought up your ED, but it's like, okay, well, how is somebody supposed to be aroused in that? In that living condition, you know what I'm saying? So I understand I understand all of that. I would say more so like if you were in the back room and you just personally were, and like you said, right, you do feel slightly vindicated. I get that. It's more so I think the filming throughout the house is what people have the biggest issue with. Like, had you just been like, this is a room, the entire house is exactly like that, and then kept it on your face the entire time, I think less people would have that much of a problem. But I'm going to be completely honest, when going back and forth, I mean, she was able to say whatever she wanted. Oh, your dick didn't work. She was able to imply that you were incestual with your mother. She was able to imply that, or not even imply, she flat out basically accused you of slipping back into heroin again and all these other things. And when all that starts happening, I'm sorry, but the gloves are off at that point. Like all is fair in love and war. I mean, we said what we said. And about it, I think that on Rewind they misrepresented it as blackmail, because as any guy knows, or any person out there knows, if someone's calling the police on you, they already have a narrative, they already have a thought on there, especially when they're weaponizing it. That video, like I said, had it just been you sitting there on your face, it would have played a lot better to the audience, to everybody. But I definitely disagree with them having called that like blackmail. Because what's your blackmail? Hey, take back these rape allegations, or I'm going to show you have a dirty house. Like, it doesn't.
No, because that doesn't even jive with the timeline, right?
Right.
Like we'll get there, but like the allegations weren't, when I released the video, the allegations she hadn't even thought of them yet.
Right.
So essentially the cops end up getting there. So now I finished the video. I'm standing by the front door. She one more time comes into the living room out of her bedroom while I'm waiting for the sheriff's. Oh, hold on, my headphones unplugged. I assume you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. No worries.
He did it. Okay. So one more time I'm waiting at the door now after I took the video. She comes out. She actually did put hands on me. So I was also right in my premonition, or my understanding of kind of how people work, how angry women work, or however you want to word it, that there was actually a legitimate chance. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it on the recording, but she did end up putting her hands on me, and I can lend supporting evidence to that, in that we discussed it in text messages. She said that I tried to get her arrested for putting hands on me. I didn't tell the cops that I want to make a report of her putting hands on me or anything. I just said, if she really is interested, if I was over the legal limit and she was interested in pushing me out into the 10-degree weather, that then we could discuss her putting hands on me.
No, I do gotta ask now. You've explained your reasoning on why you started to record, but what was your reasoning for stopping recording? Did you feel like you had enough information? Were you worried that was going to end up
No,
backfiring? What was the
the
thought process on
the
stopping?
the idea was I was gonna have my phone handy in the event that she physically attacked me or escalated again. Then with my phone in my hand, I said, "Oh, you know what? I could also let me just do this really quick. This should deter her from dragging me if I have this video of the inside of her house." So I was going to record the video, then stop recording, and then be ready to start recording any incidents
Ready.
that should
Okay.
happen. It was never supposed to be like a house tour into her attacking me or anything. I didn't have foreknowledge she was going to attack me. I just kind of suspected that there was a chance she could. So I stopped recording. I was waiting at the door. She came. She hit me once in the shoulder and once in the face. It kind of like grazed me. I'm not her. I'm not. It's okay. It's whatever. She lost her temper. I'm not that worried about it, but it is what happened. I'm gonna give you all the details I can remember. The cops eventually get there. They come in. They ask her what happened. They ask me what happened. You could read the report. It says exactly what we both told them. They asked me if I would be willing to leave. I said, absolutely, 100%. I want nothing more than to get out of here. As long as I know that I'm not going to harm anybody or get pulled over, I want to just make sure I'm under the legal limit. The sheriff did not have a blood alcohol meter in his vehicle. We had to wait for a supervisor to come on scene. It took a long time, like 30 minutes. They had her separated in a different end of the house. And she had ample opportunity to report any evil that she thought I had done to her at that time while she was separated in the other end of the house with one of the sheriffs. I just want, to me, that's a really important point.
No, it
Number
100%
one,
is.
number one, the fact that I went home January 3rd and she had me come back on the 4th or 5th. And number two, the fact that she was in a room alone with the cop for half an hour and these allegations never surfaced are two very important facts that I feel like really need to be articulated precisely. So eventually I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say real quick, thank you to the Vulgar Unicorn for the 5 gifted. We appreciate you. We're just trying not to cut him off at all. I would say, no, I do agree with you. The fact that nothing was filed or nothing was even hinted to or even talked about, because she could have said it and simply said, I don't want to file charges, but this also happened, and that would have been written down.
It would have.
So ultimately the supervisor came, they gave me my breathalyzer. I don't know what I blew because I didn't see the screen. However, he said, okay, you are under the legal limit. I said, okay, let me get my stuff. I spent 15 minutes packing up my computer, packing up my clothes, packing up my whatever else I had, my cat stuff. My cat was hiding under her bed in her bedroom. You can imagine what it looks like under there. That probably took me an additional 15 minutes just to retrieve my cat from her room. I eventually did. I got her in the crate. I got her in the truck. The cops pulled away. I texted her and I asked her if she was interested. Okay, so at this point now, I know that I'm done with Becky. She's a cop caller for no reason. I know that I am leaving here with all of my stuff. I know that she has the shotgun there, that I am no longer comfortable leaving in her possession because she assaulted me for no reason. And she's shown that she's completely irrational and loses control way too quick for firearms. So before I left her property, when the cops were driving up the road, I texted her really quick and I asked her if she was interested in me taking the shotgun now or later. She said, you could take it now. I went back to the door, I retrieved the shotgun, and I drove home.
Now, that's a very interesting point that you say that. So then the question then becomes, why'd you buy it for her in the first place?
I didn't buy it for her. I brought it for her, and it was because she was doxxed and threatened, and she lives in the middle of nowhere by herself, and she's a female. I didn't understand that she was out of control. I didn't understand that she was prone to violence at the drop of a hat. And it was ultimately a protective thing. I wanted to make sure that, God forbid, any of these online weirdos who found her docs came to her house, she wouldn't be defenseless.
I think that's a completely fair reason about having a weapon on hand.
But at the same time, yes. But at the same time, when you turn around and you compare it with what he just said, that she was too emotionally unstable for it. in the first
I
place. You know what I'm
didn't,
saying?
but I didn't know. I hadn't seen that side of her yet.
Okay, so you're
Right
saying you
when I
had
brought
gotten
it.
she hadn't been like this up until that
No,
point. She
not no, not.
okay.
I mean, not to this degree. Like she'd never
Okay.
called the cops on me before. She'd never lost her shit like this before. I'd seen her get excited. I'd never seen her get violent. This was the first time she put hands on me.
Okay. So
Yeah,
this is
and
the
I
first instance that made you think like, okay, she cannot have this weapon here.
yeah, and not only that,
Okay.
but I can't be with her. Right at this
Okay.
point, not only is she not only is she not a responsible gun owner, not only is she somebody I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving a firearm in their possession any longer, but also she's not somebody that I can even be with at this point.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to be sure that she wasn't showing like a little her crazy side ever so slightly, and you still were like, yeah, a gun is a good idea.
No,
Do you
Okay.
think that
Okay.
there's something? Do you think there's something that happened this night that was more provoking, or do you think there's something going on, whether it be personal or on the stream, that made her more apt to be as aggressive this evening rather than before? Because,
I
like
don't
you
know.
said,
I don't know, and I'm
it's
not
kind of
really
a
comfortable.
surprise.
I'm not really comfortable speculating on why
Right.
she was. That's not really something I'm interested in doing.
So okay, so so I see Riot has said it multiple times about the two of you or potentially Becky you and Becky potentially having slept together, been intimate while she was intoxicated. If that was the case, would you both not have been intoxicated? You said you guys were both
I've
eating
never seen
edibles.
Becky drunk. I've never seen Becky drunk.
No, no, no. Well, under anything non-sober, has there ever like that's what the person is
Oh,
basically implying?
we certainly had sex after we took weed for sure.
Okay, so that's pretty much what the person's asking is: were you the only sober person when you guys were intimate? Potentially, if you had sex between
No, if she was high on edibles, I was high on edibles.
okay, all right.
If I was, she was.
Okay, so to answer your question there, right, that's the thing. The both of them were intoxicated and they both well, I don't want to say intoxicated. They were both not sober. They were both high on weed most likely if they were together intimately. So there was a couple of different small questions and then I know that the two of us had some as well. So
Is it like a midway point question or should I finish the timeline?
yeah, go for it. Finish everything.
Okay.
Want to get
So
home.
okay, so I get home 3 o'clock in the morning. I bring all the stuff that I think is going to freeze: my computer monitors, my tower, my cat, the stuff that really needs to come in right now. I come in, I mellow out, I essentially go to bed. I might have been on the Discord server a little bit or whatever. Because I, like the server kind of watched the fight unfold or whatever. At one point at like 3 a.m., I was like, "Yo, it's real!" Like I didn't actually believe it was real. I was like, "Yo, it's real!" Like I'm actually on my way home. This is fucking wild. Right. Yeah, fast forward to the next day. She texts me the next day. We argue multiple times throughout the day. At some point, a conversation is had like, listen, Becky, whatever happened, it happened. It's fine. Like we don't need to relitigate everything that we already argued about for the last 12 hours or whatever it was. But we don't need to destroy each other either. And this was a conversation that we had earlier on. I don't know if you guys remember. At one point, I had stopped seeing Becky. And there was a few reasons that I had stopped seeing Becky. One of the reasons I had stopped seeing Becky is because it would have just been easier to date somebody that's not in my community online, right? Because like I asked her like, "Oh, well, when we get divorced, who's going to get custody of the server?" Like it was a joke. And this was before she was a host on the show and she was like, "Oh, well, no, you were there first," and yada yada yada. Right? So like obviously this was something that had been thought of before this time. So I said, we don't need to destroy each other. I easily could have coexisted in there with her from now until eternity. We dated for 2 months. It's not really all that. It doesn't need to be all that. So I told her, listen, we don't need to destroy each other. Please, there's no reason that you need to go on your show tonight and attack me. I didn't do anything to deserve that. Please don't do it. We don't need to make this ugly. Because she was like saying pretty vile shit already in the server before the show at this point.
Right.
Fast forward another couple hours, it's still before the show, and I'm thinking about it more. And I'm like, this bitch is going to go on there and she's going to talk all the shit. I know she is. So I then sent her the video the afternoon that I ended up sending it to the server that night. That afternoon, I sent it to her. I said, I just want you to know, like, I'm serious. You're already slandering me. I am so ready to fucking counterpunch. It's the last thing that I want to do. But if this is the path that you put me on, I am willing to go scorched earth the same way you are. And whatever happened, essentially the day progressed on. She did her stream that night and she talked all the shit. That's the night that she talked like the most of the shit that she talked about me. At the end of the stream, she then texted me with like a kiss emoji, like, thanks for the content, you fat fucking loser. Everybody had a great laugh at you. And I'm like, oh, well, thanks for being so gross. Everybody in the server loved to see what a pigsty you live in. Like, we were just being nasty to each other because we both had now hard feelings, me about her going on and telling all those lies about me and telling everybody I'm a freeloader and that I lived with her and I didn't give her nothing. And I was mad that she was lying about me, mad that she was talking shit about me, you know, and you know, all of the hurt feelings that we both had. That was a really ugly interaction that we had when she texted me after Queens that night. I said, listen, ultimately you're blocked. I'm done with you. I have nothing further to say with you. You're gross. I am done. Okay. When I blocked her, she then went to the server immediately, started pinging me, talking more shit, trying to get under my skin more. And I refused to let her do it. I refused to let her get under my skin. I refused to let her bait me into interacting with her. After about 10 minutes between when she texted me and I told her she was blocked and when she was pinging me on the server and I was ignoring her, about 10 minutes after that, after the start of that, through that situation is when the allegation came.
Right. And then you were realizing it in real time. I remember you saying that on Rewind.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I know that it never happened. Mm-hmm. And I know that we're in the server and we're fighting. I'm not communicating directly with her. She's tagging me. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing this R word 2 times, a third time. And I'm like, wait,
right. Why are we talking about this?
Truthfully, I wasn't sitting there trying to read every word of everything she wrote because it's attacking me. And I'm not trying to, like, I don't need to read that, you know, like I want to be here, like to make sure that like anything major can be addressed or whatever, but I don't need to have this petty back and forth.
Right.
So that's when you see that text where I'm like, wait, why is this being discussed right now? Like, this doesn't make any sense to anything that's actually happening. So why are we talking about this?
Right.
And that's when the big claim thing came out or whatever, that the most common message that she posted that everybody's seen about the situation that she alleges. Okay. So and like, I mean, yeah, like that's pretty much it. That at that point, you know, is when the allegations were here. You know, I went on Rewind 2 days later, and like that's pretty much it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna be honest, man. There's very few situations I wouldn't want to trade with the person. This is definitely one of them. This is like such a difficult thing, but like I said to you and to everybody, we're platforming. We're giving you the ability. Well, the questions that we're gonna ask are gonna be like stuff, just small things. Not really gonna 100% dig into it, just because we would be here all night. But would you be open to, if we were to in the future, have you back on something if we find an inconsistency or anything like that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and go down, because some people did have some questions, and I did tell them, you know, like, we'll ask everything at the end, just so that way you can at least, there's not just chop story. It's not just chopped up the entire way. Okay, so one of the first ones that I did see that I liked was from Ride. They said that she apparently said reports, as in plural. Do we know if she filed more than just this trespassing report?
We do know that via the Freedom of Information Act request. There was 2 pages pertinent to my name and her name at the time of request.
Right,
and 2 pages are in front of you.
Yep, and
when she says I have text messages from her from the next day after the cops asked me to leave, or later that day because it was after midnight technically. I have text messages of her essentially saying one of those is my copy of the report or something, because she, like I said, she tried to say that I tried to get her arrested for assaulting me, which I told her at that point, no, I filed no reports. I made no complaints. I filed no reports. I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, no, you did file a report. It's here. I have your report and my report. But no, I filed no reports. I made no complaints.
Okay.
So
She might have,
I
when she said reports, she might have just meant papers because there's a front and
yeah
or there's two papers. I don't know. But through like the Freedom of Information Act, had there been multiple reports, Brandon would have found the other reports more
yes
than just what we're looking at right now,
correct.
or more than what we just looked at tonight. Now, yeah, okay. Goose had asked a question that already got answered. So for anybody who's wondering the same thing, saying that Richie, I know you said you were drunk. That was why you couldn't drive, but you surely could have gotten an Uber. There was still the simple fact of her living all the way out in the boonies. Now you're also looking into these things, guys. And I'm not to answer for Richie, but like you would have to pay for an Uber, pay for an Uber home, pay for an Uber back to retrieve your car, get the car, then drive those hours all the way back, and then all of this going on in the middle of having been drunk. And I'm pretty sure like even Uber is like doing things where with like not taking drunk people or refusing to drive drunk people, even though it's like the entire thing it was made for. But did buying an Uber to take yourself home, did that ever enter the idea of it all, or was it more so? Actually, before I ask that, I'm just let you go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not gonna pretend that I did everything perfectly. I certainly did not. I did
Mm,
the thing in the moment that I thought were right, were best for everybody involved, and were reasonable. You might disagree, and that's entirely fine. That you're right as a free thinking individual. And if I was in that exact situation right now, I don't know that I would make the same decisions that I made. I probably wouldn't. I've lived and learned a little bit. I never did consider taking an Uber because at the time when it was serious, where I would have actually been considering it,
mm-hmm.
I knew that I didn't need 8 hours to sober up. And I thought there was a good chance that the cops might tell me like I was like 0.09 or something, and like 25 more minutes I could have waited in the parking lot or something. It just didn't to go all the way home, to pay for a taxi service all the way home and have to come all the way back. It's like an hour and 25 minutes each way. It's 80 something miles, 80 miles and change. It didn't really, taking an Uber wasn't really never one of the options for me. I would have went out and sat in the parking lot in my truck first, because I knew it wasn't going to be an 8 hour sober up or anything. I knew that I didn't really drink enough to where it was going to be, if I was over the legal limit, it wasn't going to be by much, and it wasn't going to take a lot of time. Because, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
at the time when I stopped drinking is when I realized like we were fighting. But then like I had that time where I thought we could just talk in the morning would be better. But at the time when I switched over to realizing I just need to get out of here, when she like seriously started talking about calling the cops, um is when I realized I just needed to get my shit and get out of there as quick as possible. So really taking an Uber and prolonging this any longer was like the furthest thing from my mind.
All right. Yeah, no, I can understand that one. I'm not going to offer my thoughts and opinions. I just want to give you, because I do see some people are saying like, don't give them outs or whatever, or sweeping or whatever. But it's like it's a little difficult to with these things to like give my thoughts or anything, because then it can be seen as like shaping your story or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you
I do want to
guys,
say this.
yeah,
I
go
do want to
ahead.
say this. Somebody, a commenter named Zombie, said, "Would watch, but your show is one-sided, and you have trash viewers." Expertina. I don't know what that means, but anyways, what I wanted to say to that is if you think this is
Except for
one-sided,
Tina.
if you think this is one-sided, you should watch our first stream from a couple nights ago where we first went over all of this stuff, and we were pretty critical on both sides of the aisle because we genuinely want to fact check everything and make sure everything is coming out um as clean as it can be on both sides. We want this to be solved as much as you guys do.
I mean, Zombie's been watching. It's been team Becky the entire time. So I mean, you're talking about biases, bro. you're
I
you're
mean,
listening
well, there is that.
like, oh my god, it's not you say we're biased. Okay, can you give us an example of how we're being biased? Because I've even said to Richie throughout this entire thing that I'm not saying that he's telling the truth. I'm not saying Becky's lying. I'm going based off of everything that's here, and as of right now, because of the fact that he's been willing to talk about all of this, we have way more information from Richie about that night than we do Becky. So when we have this police report backing up what Richie said had occurred, it's just easier to believe it because it's literally written on paper by a third party non-biased person. Like, now, had it said Richie was forcefully removed from the residence, refused to leave, I would have believed Becky more. But it didn't say that. It said that he willingly left. So it's, you say biased, I say educated. Well, this one's for Mono. He's going to get banned for it. Do you regret appearing on the dating show?
No.
Okay. So, I mean, hey, you live and you learn, and some stuff happened. I assume that there were good things that came out of this. I assume in that amount of time that you guys had together, there were good things that came out of there. Guys, if you want a legitimate question, like if you want to ask a question, I would say ask more than just like, how does this make you feel? Brady, I mean, he asks, have you seen more people defend or attack you? I would assume
Defend.
I would assume more so. I mean, you did also,
by a tremendous margin.
And I'd have to agree. I think the Discord pretty much is very, very one-sided.
The Discord, the Reddit, the only place that seems more negative for me than positive is YouTube live stream comments. Everywhere else seems to have a pretty good
it's almost like the places that seem to know you more, at least a little bit more intimately, are more willing to listen to you and believe you rather than just somebody on the internet.
Somebody else has made that point.
Yeah.
Or you made it to me another time or something, because like that, I definitely, somebody else exactly said that, or I heard that.
Well, the Discord is generally for like the people who are invested in the behind the scenes of the show and really, really invested in it. Whereas more so YouTube is the people who, hey, let me tune into this. I like this show, so it's very different. The Den of Tims, Richie, you made a statement on Rewind that you would be willing to take a polygraph test. Are you still willing to take a polygraph test?
Okay, so I ran the idea by Keemstar. He didn't seem that enthusiastic about it. I ultimately don't think it's really going to help. I think that the people who already believe me are going to feel a little bit better that they chose to believe me. The people who don't want to believe me are going to dismiss it as a pseudoscience. They're going to dismiss it as a false result or a faked result, or they're just going to find a way to dismiss it anyway. I just ultimately don't think that. Number one, I don't think Keemstar wants it. I don't think he wants to platform it. Number two, I don't think that it's really going to change anybody's mind. I don't think it's really going to do me any good in the long run. My initial thing was, I know I'm not lying. Absolutely, fuck it. Yeah, let's go. But after talking to a lot of people about it and hearing different opinions on it and stuff, and also the fact that regardless, I can go take the polygraph right now and pass it. I'm still out of the server. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't really seem like something that's worth doing at this point,
unfortunately. We discussed this on the last episode.
And we're going to leave it alone at that.
Right.
We're going to leave that alone. Okay.
Gonna make me go back and watch the other episode.
Yeah, pretty well. Not only that, but I don't want to. Again, I don't want people sitting here being like, "Oh, well, you're telling him not to do this or telling him to do it." Like, you know what I'm saying? But anyways,
I mean, I'm a free thinking individual. You're not going to tell me to.
No. I know that.
You might give me your opinion or your advice.
I'm talking more for the chat than anything else.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so this was a question I'll definitely ask. So because you were in the camping trip. You definitely weren't, I'm not gonna say an anchor, but you were part of the OGs, right? You, Stan the Man, Jester Boys, all of us. And this is the only thing that I'll ask you in the realm outside of all of this. How did it strike you in any way, shape, or form that like, I disagree with this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Did it make you feel some type of way that you didn't get booted for potentially being, called an R word but you actually did get kicked out for going on Voldemort's stream?
No. Essentially, by the time I chose to go on Grace's stream, I had already been asked to leave the server on the stream on Rewind for a 7-day period. But then I had also been contacted behind the scenes, not from Keemstar directly, but secondhand from somebody that I know wouldn't make up a message from Keemstar,
Right.
who said pretty much just please don't come back. As long as Becky's here, as long as she's on the show, we can't have all of this going on in the server. It's not, you're not banned. We're not saying that you did anything wrong. We don't, we're not taking a side. It would just be easier for everybody if you didn't come back. So at this point, I'm essentially banished from the community. And I really thought Keem's biggest issue was her using his logo and branding. And when I
Right.
went on her show, she had abandoned that branding. And I really didn't think he was going to care as much as he did. And I've talked to Keemstar after that, and I apologized. I didn't think he was going to take it the way that he did. And I regret that he did. And I regret that I did it. And then I made him feel the way that I made him feel by going on there and stuff. It's an unfortunate situation, but she has a 2-hour platform every day to accuse me,
Right.
and I don't have very many options to defend myself. And I'm not saying it was the right thing to go on there, but it was the decision that I made, and you know what? It was my decision, and I made it. If I'm banned for that, then I'm banned for it. All I'm trying to do is stand up for myself here.
No, yeah, I hear that. Okay. From Hannah Rains to Richie, have you ever thought Becky would be like this? You said you were dating for 2 months. You guys were in the honeymoon stage. Was there any other red flags that you wish you had caught ahead of time?
There were red flags for sure.
And
None
we're
of
not
them.
asking before anything. We're not asking for you to air out any dirty laundry.
No, of course
Just
not. No, of
anything
course
that
not.
you're willing to say.
There were certainly red flags, specifically around some historical decisions that she had made in her life. Also, the way that she was living was a bit of a red flag, obviously, and the way that she would communicate in times of disagreement and argument were kind of red flaggy.
Mhm.
Um, but sometimes you just think you know better. Sometimes you think you can mitigate the impact of these things. Sometimes you're just stupid. So despite the fact that I did see some red flags, I was still hanging in there.
I can appreciate that. And then I'll build off of that too. Was because you said that like this was the culmination of everything going crazy. This is when you had that hard cut, you're out, you're done, and everything. I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up because it is a very, I think it's a point that a lot of people who are anti Richie are gonna harp on, and kind of rightfully so. You only a couple of days later started talking to another girl.
Okay, so I had actually met. Okay, so when I went home for the third, I
Mm-hmm.
had actually met somebody just completely by chance. Um, and they always say like, you can't get a girlfriend until you have a girlfriend or whatever, right? Like, you ever hear anybody say like
Yeah,
the
I've
girls
heard
always know
that.
when you're,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 right. Like this girl just kind of smiled at me the right way or whatever, and I kind of said hi back, and we talked for 5 minutes or something. Some social media information was exchanged. I'm not a cheater. I wasn't gonna call her. I figured, I took the high. I wrote it away for 15 minutes, and that was the
Mm.
end of that. But then everything kind of happened 3, 4 days later, and sometimes you just got to wonder if things happen for a reason. So
Well, I
I
guess what
figured.
I'm more so is I'm asking is that do you understand why people are looking at it, yeah, at that as suspicious?
Oh, sure. And I would have never brought that up if they didn't ask me, like, oh, well, are you single now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and like ultimately, like, I'm not looking to start dating somebody right away or anything. But like this girl like seemed like she could have been like really cool and stuff. And then if I just ignored it and waited, maybe she would start dating somebody else
Mm-hmm.
before and so like I just wanted to, just reach out, keep it as casual as possible. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Zeph.
I'm trying to think of any questions. I mean, to go off of what you just said, I mean, like when you first introduced yourself to this lady, she wasn't an option per se. You weren't cheating, but it
No.
was a potential friendship. But whenever things were canned with you and Becky, then somebody like that becomes an option. And just because you're talking to somebody or just because you're chatting with somebody doesn't mean necessarily you're dating. But hey, there's potential. It's not I don't think you're a cheater for it. Now, do I think that it helps your case? I don't necessarily think it was the best thing to mention at the time, like you said, but I don't think it. I think people are going to blow it out of the water, really.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it kind of came up. I wouldn't have volunteered the information, but I'm not going to lie either.
Right,
Uh,
right.
I might have not needed to say that to answer the "Are you single?" question or whatever, but in that moment, it's just it was the
I mean,
truth. It's just what I said.
it's way better to be more truthful than less truthful. I mean, because let's say that like in the future you and her are dating, it's public, whatever, and then someone says, "Oh yeah, we like met on this day." And then people go back and look. It's like, oh, wait a minute. That was a couple of days before this stream where everything went down, where everything went crazy, Like, so it's better to just be completely upfront and naked with it rather than.
Like I agree, and I have some serious allegations that are levied against me,
Right.
and so I don't want to tell any lies, because if I start getting caught in little stupid lies,
Mm,
it's not going to look good for me. So I really just have to be 100%, whether it's ugly or pretty. I have to just be honest at this point, because I would rather look a little ugly or a little dingy around the collar on something um than ruin my credibility in the face of these serious allegations.
Right, right. No, I hear you. Well, chat, if you guys have been watching, I mean, you guys have been following our coverage of this. You all know that I've had words with Richie, Richie's had words with me. We've gone back and forth. There's no love lost there. I've had words with Becky. I'm sure if you've been in the local Discord, you saw that. I mean, there's no one side here other than the side of where the facts lead us. Me and Richie aren't the best friends. Me and Becky aren't friends at all. I'm not picking sides. I'm not picking Richie's side. I'm not picking Becky's side. I'm picking what is in front of us, what we can see, what makes the most sense, and what lines up better. And if Becky decides to rescind her saying that she's not going to talk about this anymore, and she talks about it more and puts out a video, whatever it might be, we'll react to that too. We'll watch that too. And if she then turns around and rescinds her saying that she doesn't want to come on the show to talk about it, we'll have her on as well. This isn't we're platforming one person and only one person. We've watched all of their sides. Hell, we even interrupted their side to watch Chill Force on Rewind. But we're open to everybody. We're open to complete and utter transparency here. So Richie,
Becky has been extended the offer to come on our show multiple times. This is not just the first time we've extended our offer. There's been multiple times before this. So it is entirely up to her. The door is open. It's up to her.
Also, Anna, I really, really need you to look up the definition of defamation, please and thank you. And conspiracy to cover up okay, you're a joke. Never mind. I'm not going to respond to you. Anyways, Richie, was there anything else that you had wanted to say? Any pertinent detail, important detail, anything that you want people who are watching to know?
No, I think I really hit all of the points that I feel needed to be hit. Hopefully this I don't know. I want to say hopefully it all blows over, it all ends. I don't know what's going to happen, unfortunately, but the biggest thing, honestly, has been the people that support me and stuff. If I woke up tomorrow and everybody just believed that I was capable of this horrible, disgusting act, I don't know that I could continue to ever happily walk this earth again. I think I would feel defeated. I think I would feel hopeless. And there's been so many people who have been so supportive of me. There's been a lot of people who have friendships and acquaintanceships with me online, because I'm an online person and stuff. This is where I spend a lot of my free time and stuff. And I just I can't thank the people who have stood by me. I can't thank them enough. It's real easy to see somebody get accused of something like this, and then you just don't want to get the poop on your fingers too, so you slink away. And the support has just been tremendous, and I'm really grateful.
Well, that's good, and I think that as probably one of the only other people in this whole debacle who actually knows what you're going through, having had my own allegations and everything at the start of Locale Discord, it does help to have people around you. You know, it does help to have a good support system. And I'm glad that you're back in yours. You know, I'm glad that you have everybody there for you, man. And we appreciate you coming on, telling your side. We appreciate the being willingness and your forthright and saying that you're not gonna speculate on things that you don't know. We appreciate your honesty and everything that you've
You know,
shown.
that's like I said, that's the most important thing right now is that I just need to, whether it's pretty or ugly, I just need to be as honest as I can because if I start ruining my credibility, it's not going to go anywhere good.
All right. Yeah, we appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who's come out and watched and everything.
you.
Richie, you have yourself a wonderful evening,
All right,
sir.
guys, thanks for having me.
No problem. Have a good one.
Good night.
Have a good one, Richie.
All right, you guys, we appreciate everyone who's been watching, everybody who's come on and given your opinions, even if we disagree with them. It is what it is. You know, we're not going to shit talk you guys in there unless, of course, you're saying some crazy shit. But like I said at the beginning of this, okay, we weren't on here to completely rip apart anything and everything that he said. What I wanted is to bring up him to give his complete story without the constant questions. Give him the exact same platform that Becky is given every single day and was given. Okay, she was given the ability to talk and say whatever she wanted. Nobody came into the stream to ask her questions. Hell, nobody's even gone over what she said to point out inconsistencies. And as far as we know, nobody's going to cover outside of us. No one's going to cover the police report either, unless it's on like their own personal streams, right? So we started this journey covering it. We're going to end it. And if nothing else happens from this point forward, you guys, this is it. This is what we got. You're going to have to make your choices based off of Locale Live Discord. If you're in the Discord and it pops off again, if it gets brought up on Queens again, whatever it might be, hopefully there's a resolution here somehow.
Our goal with this platform, when we started this, when we started this whole channel, we weren't entirely sure how it was going to go, but we always knew that we were going to try to be mostly neutral on situations like this because when you're biased, you don't see things for what they are. If you have rose-colored glasses on, all the red flags are just regular flags. So our goal is to bring a neutral platform for people like Richie or even Becky, if she so chooses, to come on and give their side of their stories. So that way, if there is evidence or if there is things that need to be discussed and broke down, we can, because we're going to be as neutral as we can be to give you guys the whole story, not just one side of the story.
And not only that, but we have proven that if we're wrong, we'll eat crow. And we will show that we're wrong. We've also proven that we will go above what other people are willing to do in an effort for the truth, the same way we did when Becky handed us the tracking slip and we tracked and we got all the information and we looked at it and we proved on stream here that Becky, for the most part, was most likely 99% telling the truth about when the PC arrived. We were given bad information. We relayed bad information. We were given proper information and we set things straight. So you can call us biased all you want. I'm sorry. All you're going to get is 2 middle fingers and a cloud of dust. I don't really care, bro. Like, I know who I am. I know what we're about. And I know what we built this platform about, you guys. So we appreciate you guys coming out on this Tuesday. We know it was pretty somber. It's a very heavy topic. And if more information comes out, we will cover it.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's better information than anything. But if nothing does come out, you guys, you know, hopefully this is the extent of it. You guys. But you guys are been wonderful. Have a beautiful evening.